Very first question for you is, what are 3 words you would use to describe your Studio One experience?
Okay. 3 words I would use to describe the Studio One experience are, and I struggle with this word, but it's very meaningful to me, empowerment.
Self-awareness, self-pride.
I would say fulfilling,
passion,
Delightful and inspiring.
Rewarding, inspiring,
Community,
family.
Family, the atmosphere is hardworking and it's really a place for growth.
family, home,
Family.
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 Community and friendship.
Community. 2 would be family.
and culture.
Culture.
Black power and loving.
educational, fun,
Fun.
Excellence.
I'm going to cheat a little bit and say Black Girl Magic.
I'm Pamela Avery. I'm the executive director of Studio One Dance Theater. I actually taught dance from a relatively young age, so it came naturally to me. Once I graduated from college, I don't think I necessarily had the intention of opening a studio, and definitely not right away. I was looking to dance professionally. Had my toe and fingers in advertising and marketing, and just like anybody recent grad, just trying to figure out who I was in the world and what was going to work. So I would love to say I had this grand vision of I'm going to start Studio One day, and this is how it'll roll out. I was actually teaching in multiple places, auditioning, living the artist life and trying to figure it out. I had a connection with Wesley United Methodist Church. Ironically, I went there as a child but hadn't been there in years. They wanted to start an arts program, particularly dance. They asked me to submit a proposal to come in and talk to their committees. Their idea was they didn't necessarily want a church program, they wanted a real arts program. Their membership was getting older and they wanted to bring in the youth of the community, and they wanted to be looked at as a community resource and friends of the community. So they actually wanted someone to come in and do something that would connect with the church but was relatively independent. So that's how Studio One began.
So when Pam started Studio One at Wesley United Methodist Church and started offering dance classes there, I was one of the first students. So I was in one of the younger classes at the time. When I started at the church, we were the babies. We were the baby class. We were the youngest. And my older sister was the teenage class, the older class. And so there was always this sense of wanting to keep up with them.
We thought there'd be a number of students joining from the church. It wasn't. It was just a few. So that gave me a chance to use all my skills from advertising, promotion, and marketing to just hit the streets.
It had just started. It just opened up. And she didn't have a lot of students, but she had enough for them to learn how to dance at 3 and follow instructions. And at that point, I knew that this was the place for my daughter. And I recommended it to everybody whose child wanted to be in dance.
Me and my youngest brother out passing out flyers, knocking on doors, contacting everyone we knew. It was in Evergreen Plaza out front. Anywhere you kind of can imagine, up and down 95th Street. And the church was 95th in Indiana. So we were just kind of working that whole thing, passing out flyers in the neighborhood.
When the studio first started at the church, it was fun.
Now, her first place of teaching was in a church basement. And we went there every week with her class, and they began to learn the fundamentals. And the fundamentals were fun to them, even though they may mess up a little bit, but they did a good job. I would sit and watch them until the end of the class. And with 3-year-olds, you couldn't wait too long. You know, you had an hour. And then as my daughter grew and advanced, it became just part of our life.
Some of my first goals in founding the studio, I think, were more about the student experience as opposed to thinking about where I wanted to be professionally or large business goals. I felt just so much honored and responsible to have these young people who were looking towards me. And at that point, it was just me. And so I thought about my experience, the way I'd grown up in dance, the way I grew up in 4-H, and I knew I wanted to work on a holistic experience. And at that point, I don't know that we knew that word readily, holistic, but I wanted to make sure that everybody came out of every class, every experience feeling successful. There was naturally a transition from being at the church to being in a space of my own. And as exciting as it was, a lot of responsibility came with that as well. Luckily, I had an in-between step. So for 1 year, we had a space that we used at a daycare center. We had less classes, so it made it possible. And then on the other side was always the joy and the noise of the daycare center during the week. So it taught me to be flexible, taught our students to be flexible. When we moved to our own space on 95th Street, it's a completely different world. And so the plus and minus of the space we now know as Studio One, and we all know it's lower level, was it was affordable because it was a space no one had thought of and no one wanted it. There hadn't been anything going on down there for years but storage. But it took years to make that space be what it is now. Again, I have nothing but gratitude and respect for the parents that could see past the way the space looked. They could see the vision, they could see where I was headed, they liked what their kids were getting, and it just made me more determined to make everything wonderful and comfortable and to show everybody how much I cared about them by eventually creating a space that was comfortable and hopefully makes everybody feel proud when they walk in.
I actually met Miss Pam Avery as a 3-year-old. She used to teach dance at my preschool. So that was the way that I first met her. And so, of course, I went on to, grammar school and to move on. And then I found out that she had a dance studio when I was in, I want to say 8th grade.
So my journey with Studio One began in the 80s. I started as a dancer at Studio One when I was 8 years old. Miss Avery, which is Pamela Avery's mom, attended my recital. And she noticed I was the only Black girl in an all-white dance studio. And she saw my talent. And she recommended that I attend Studio One with her daughter. I love dance. I love Studio One. I was already coming there for 3 days a week for dance class. So it just kind of evolved to me working there.
So I've been with Studio One since 2013. I first decided to go to Studio One because at my preschool, Miss Fashika was actually my dance teacher there, and we did little dance performances at the end of the year, and I really enjoyed performing, and my parents saw this. My mom was also a dancer, so she was really excited to finally put me in dance classes. And Studio One was local. It promotes Black power, Black excellence, and they really liked the message that came with their studio, so they decided to take me to Studio One for dance classes.
Well, my journey started when I was with Miss Rashika in Little Hands, and my mom signed me up at 3 years old.
Ground plie, push the air left, go back to first, pass that. My knee is to the side. Here we go, over here, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, plie. Up, first, up, 5, 6, pass that rope. 1, 2, up, 3, 4, up, 5, 6, change that shape. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, bend your head. 1, 2, go 3, 4, go 5, 6, open those legs.
With anything in life, but especially, with dance or the arts, it's a process. And so I think one thing that I had to learn is that you might not get the steps right away. You might not be perfect the first time you attempt something. And so learning that, hey, you have to show up, you have to practice. This is a process.
Coming from this relatively small tap lesson at my grade school to the advanced tap class that I was put into, it was I'm not even sure where half of these sounds are coming from. And so I was definitely like, oh, maybe this is a little much for me, but I was greeted with so much care and compassion, and it just was the perfect environment to grow.
One of the things I've always enjoyed about Early Foundations in Dance at Studio One is that it really is developmentally appropriate in terms of technique, in terms of understanding what, kind of how muscles are working in young children. But then also in terms of incorporating other skills, so with the younger kids, we're incorporating skills that they're learning already, and counting and colors and directions, and there's repetition. It's engaging, it's dynamic, it's fun.
We're all in this piece together. We're all trying to achieve this same goal. I have to pull my own weight. So that means like practicing. That means knowing my choreography and being ready. That means being quiet when I need to be quiet and being loud when I need to be loud. And I think dance training teaches you that in general. You have to have a certain level of discipline to practice the art form, to grow and to get better, because it does take training and it does take dedication. And the studio makes those elements fun. It makes it something that you want to do. So it's not like a harsh process of, oh, I have to go to dance class now. It's like, oh, great. It's Saturday or whatever day I have to have. Like, I get to go to class.
So at Studio One, there's levels. When you start off as a dancer. When you hit your teen years, you become a teacher assistant. Then after that, if you stay in Chicago, you just automatically become a teacher at Studio One.
Or we're known for having our teaching assistants and junior teaching assistants, and their energy makes such a big difference.
A TA is a teacher's assistant, or as a lot of people like to say, the big sisters of the studio, but not the teacher.
The TAs is something that's really like specific to Studio One. Like, we have to have TAs. Like, it's a big role that a lot of the younger students, they look up to them.
Being a junior TA is like a junior TA, but I was a bit younger when I started. You have to be very mature, like knowing like soft spots in the little girls, and just being very gentle, but at the same time being affirmative, because you do not want to make them cry or like cause a scene with them. And you just have to know them, if that makes sense, and build relationships with them so that they can really understand who you are and you can understand who they are.
My oldest daughter, when she began being a TA, she was the youngest TA ever. And then because she went every Saturday, her younger sister wanted to go with her, but she was too young, much too young to be a TA. So she convinced Miss Pam to allow her to be a junior TA. And that's how the junior TAs got started.
It's really extensive job. You have to be there on Saturdays from like 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock, just continuously. And although they have breaks, like, they're trained to do this, and they're very, they're held to high standards by the teachers.
When I was looking at the TAs, I think that the TAs inspire the younger people, so I want to be able to inspire younger people like they do.
Studio One recitals, Studio One concerts have become legendary, and they have truly grown and developed over the years. If I had to get this down to a soundbite, I would say Studio One performances is Broadway with kids.
It's really a Broadway production, what they do.
So I personally like to call the Studio One recitals dancicles, because they're not really like your typical recitals. They're full on musicals without singing.
It's so much more than dance. There's video, and there's acting, and there are themes basically for each recital. And every year, that's one of the most exciting parts for me, is what is going to be the theme this year of the Studio One recital.
When we first began, we just were doing dances as a normal recital, but now Studio One has evolved to more so a production.
A recital at Studio One is an experience.
I used to work with Natasha Walker. She is the sister of Florence Walker, who is the artistic director for Studio One. And so when we used to work together, she invited us to join and come out and see the recital. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll bring my daughter to the recital. Just let me know how much the tickets are. She was like, oh, the tickets are $25. I'm like, $25 for a kid recital? I'm like, for both of us? And she was like, yes, $25 a piece. She said, but when you come, you'll understand why it's $25. It's not just a recital.
My brother purchased a ticket from the two young ladies who lived next door to him to their dance recital. He went to the recital, and immediately leaving the recital, he called me and told me he had just been to the most impressive dance recital he ever thought he could go to.
Talasia and I attended the recital. I was just in awe. I was just amazed at, I've never witnessed so many young African-American boys and girls performing and just really dancing and just all in one stage. It looked like it was about over 1,000 kids on the stage, right? And I'm probably exaggerating, but it was just a really, really profound experience. And it really made me feel at that moment, I wanted my daughter to be a part of this experience of excellence of young little Black, brown boys and girls. A Studio One recital is organized chaos in the back, but a beautiful production from the eyes of the audience.
Being behind the scenes, which is also hard work.
We'll meet and have teachers meetings as far as like, this is the storyline, this is what needs to happen. Costume team is meeting, production is meeting. Like, so, it's just a lot of things.
And then returning as an adult to the recital and sort of seeing it from the other side, you know what I mean? And being able to work behind the scenes. I really, really enjoyed that. I was in the recital as a performer, but I also got to help out and see how much of a production and all the effort that goes into this. And, that recital is professional caliber. It really is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's how you just get it, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And the practices are no joke. Like, we'll go to GSU. Many of us get out at maybe 3, 2. We're not leaving GSU until 11 o'clock at night. Or we'll have dress rehearsals. We're at the studio with all the kids from 8 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock on super hot days, just in a big room dancing. It's a lot.
You have a lot of markings and choreographies bouncing around everywhere. You have a lot of costume issues. You got to get sewed up on the side, or you have to go get a snack if you're really hungry.
In a way, it can be a little bit hectic because everyone's trying to make sure that everything's perfect. But even though it is hectic, it's pretty exciting also.
It'll be very stressful sometimes. It'll be very exciting. It'd be very running around. It'd be, if you don't get your butt in your place, you will get kicked out of the dance. You will get to the purple line.
You have to know when your cues are to go on stage because you will miss your dance. The show will go on.
Purple line is actually a real thing. It's right behind where all the color, where the background is, right behind there, and you can see your shadow and do the moves.
After a show, I would get this very overwhelming sense of pride and just being proud of what we were all able to produce. And knowing that all the work throughout the year has been put in and you can just leave it all out on the stage and all your family and all your friends are there and all your friends' family are there and everyone's so happy. So yeah, it's just this really good feeling of accomplishment and of knowing that you played a part in producing something that was so big and so great.
I always walk out of the recital feeling like I can change the world. Like I'm riding high on the shoulders of my ancestors. Anything is possible. It's one of those highs where you're like, let's go do something.
it was just a good family time together that you always look for every June. And June 2020 was not the same without our annual recital. And it will not be the same this year.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom.
This pandemic has really shown me how much a family we really are, because we're not there anymore as often as we were in the past. So I find myself texting everybody, and I said in the beginning of this time last year, hey guys, I really didn't realize how much we are really all connected until we were no longer together in the studio. As the pandemic opens up, we look forward to, getting back in the building and working towards our next recital, but it was a magical time.
The biggest challenge we've had, and this is one that's recent, and I don't know that this will ever be funny, but I hope that one day there'll be some humor in it. But what there is in it is a lot of gratitude, and this was the great flood of 2018. Due to lots of crazy maintenance issues and non-maintenance in the building that we're in, and this happens in climates like Chicago, the pipes froze, and it was a series of bizarre events where water went up and down the walls, and the studio flooded. It was like the great outdoors.
The studio flooded. We had to go work in the school. That was a huge change for us to have to move our whole studio to, we were literally like in the hallways in the gym to make sure that we could recover from, I believe the studio had flooded.
This is where that church experience came in. We had anything you could put in a box or on wheels, we had in a box or on wheels. We had to fold the whole operation up. But somehow, between the admin staff, the production staff, the teaching staff, parents and students, everybody just put their shoulder to the wheel, and we had a wonderful show, a wonderful experience, and we made it through.
One thing I know to be true is that Studio One can overcome and persevere through anything. Sometimes we don't know how we're gonna do it, but I'm always saying to Miss Pam, we always pull through. So for me, it's just always having that little person behind you saying, hey, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. You guys did great.
Around the building is just promoting self-confidence and just being proud of who you are.
We are very intentional to make sure that we are empowering our young people, that we are helping build their self-confidence, their self-esteem. It is a family-friendly, safe environment.
The impact that my time at Studio One has had on my life is almost hard to describe, but I think it's really that strong foundational block for so many things that I have achieved so far and I'm still working on just as a person.
But also it really taught me how to appreciate myself, because I wasn't really confident when I first came to Studio One. Like, I liked performing, but at first I just wasn't really as confident performing as I really could have been. So they really taught me how to really have a stage presence and to really appreciate myself and to gain confidence.
Having that confidence in myself to accomplish any goal or any task that is put in front of me. And if I make a mistake, it's okay. I can learn from that mistake and keep moving and keep going and strive for greatness.
It has taught me how to have self-pride in myself. It has taught me how to be compassionate. It has taught me how to be a teacher.
Self-love, like, we've had some deep times in classroom. It used to be look in the mirror and tell me why you love yourself. You know, like just different reasons of making you understand like what is the importance of being a young Black female is.
They empower students to be the best of the best. They empower students to be greater than themselves. They show you that you can rise above any obstacle.
When I think about the way Studio has impacted my life, Studio One has impacted my life, my first thought is the relationships, which are rich and rewarding.
Studio One is very family oriented. It's a very tight knit group.
I have friendships that have blossomed from Studio One. We have been friends for over 20 years just from us taking a dance class together at Studio One.
The friendships or relationships that I've gained, like
the bonds that you create in doing the work of the greater good.
Everywhere I go, literally, no matter where I'm at in the United States, I run into somebody who said they remember me from Studio One. I don't know if it's the name, I don't know if it's the impact and love that we've shown to one another, but everywhere I go, I see someone that I know from Studio One.
Even if they didn't dance there for like only dance there for only like a year or two, you still have that connection with somebody, like no matter what.
There is so much hard work put into things that have nothing to do with dance.
What studio is having parties?
So, just helping decorate like the princess parties and the pajama parties. And also the trips that we take.
And the princess party be poppin'.
Really.
Field trips to performances, whether it was music concerts or dance concerts.
Taking the girls to New York, I've never been able to go, but I was part of the planning process.
We go to Kalahari like every year, and I think it was like designed or kind of orchestrated by the staff there.
The TA.
The TA.
Fashika and myself, Fashika and I, we took the TAs as a thank you, and by default, all the kids,
all studio kids got to go.
Yeah, it was
the Girls Rock Out party. You get to like dress up in the most crazy outfits and makeup. I've had some pretty throwback outfits too for that one.
My favorite is the most recent, which was a daddy-daughter dance.
All of the teachers and instructors and assistants, we donate our time, so we get nothing monetarily back. All the money that we make from these events go towards Studio One Scholarship Fund.
So the part of the program that really makes me proud and happy, and I'm so grateful for its longevity and the fact that so many things were started by either students.
I feel like it's one of the most important things we can do is to recognize these students that have been committed to the program, that have been there for a number of years, but are being sent away with so much love and support by their community, who help raise this money by doing all these Studio One activities.
No studio like Studio One in Chicagoland area or any place that I've been to, I would say, because it kind of has like that family dynamic and your dance all in one. So like you're leaving calling somebody an auntie, someone, like a mom figure, all of the above. You get the family lessons, the life lessons, the parenting. You can come to a teacher and say, this is what I have going on in life.
Studio One is a family for us.
Studio One Dance Theater is by us and for us as Black people.
It's an honor and a privilege, and it's an awesome responsibility and it always has been, to be responsible for helping to raise Black children. I love the term Black excellence being applied to Studio One, and before that was a popular term. I like to think that's what we've been doing all along.
We are a Black-owned company. Miss Pamela Avery is a female entrepreneur who's had a little goal and has turned this into a production that has lasted over 35 years.
If you look to your left and your right, everyone, or you'll find someone that looks like you, whether it's from the teacher, from the little babies, from middle teens to the staff, behind the scenes. Like, we are big on like supporting and uplifting Black people.
It's a staple to be a Black-owned business.
Pam was also, at that time, I think she still is very much a storyteller, but she was weaving in these aspects of culture and life lessons into dance class.
Studio One promotes Black excellence through their stories in their production.
The performances at the recitals are themed for Black excellence.
Celebrating our successes and our victories while also acknowledging social injustice and inequities.
Anything I see in the news, any experience I'm having, anything that's happening in current events, I'm always thinking about what impact is this going to have on Black children.
Some dances that I've done were pretty much like the straight up message of Black excellence. They really, we also talk about it in class. Like, not only do we just dance, we learn also, we learn about figures like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and it's really also like a learning experience. You really learn how to appreciate your culture, and you learn even more about your culture in the classroom and in the dances.
We did a piece on the Amistad, and so it was really powerful. And I remember learning about that through that dance piece. And I had a little solo that I was really excited about as well. From the different types of genres of dance that you learn, from the music selections, there's so many different things about Studio One that affirm Black culture. I was experiencing Black girl magic before that's what we were calling it.
Well, Studio One is Black excellence, I think, almost without even trying.
I have developed a family here, which is amazing. Once you have a family, you can't break that bond. You can't break it. Nothing can break that. Nothing.
Studio One is important to me because it's home.